Good morning, everyone. Today I'm here to present our research work entitled A Novel Proteomic Approach for Diagnosing and Treating Infections in Acute Decompensation of Cirrhosis. This work was done at Department of Hepatology, PGI Chandigarh, under supervision of Dr. Nipun Verma. So, patients with acute decompensation of cirrhosis are at a high risk of infections due to underlying immune paresis, and these are recognized as one of the major cause of death. Infections are difficult to be diagnosed in these patients due to the imperfect gold standards, that is the culture positivity rate. So it gets challenging basically to differentiate between the true infections from the sterile inflammation that is there in the AD patients. Delayed diagnosis, as we know, hinders the timely institution of antibiotics and results in organ failures and high mortality rate. So precise diagnosis and management of infections are critical for improving outcomes in AD patients. So the aim of the study was majorly to identify the protein signatures that were associated with infections, and additionally to look at the key pathway perturbations related to the pathophysiology. So this was the major workflow of the study. We enrolled patients of AD with and without ACLF, and at the time of enrollment we performed detailed sepsis workup, and the patients were categorized into three groups. First was the patients with definite infections with culture positivity. Second was the patients with probable infections where the cultures were non-contributory but there was a clinical suspicion of infections. And finally the third group of patients in which no evidence of infections was found. So the study was divided into two phases, discovery and validation. In discovery phase we performed LCMS based plasma proteomics and the selected candidate biomarkers were validated in all the three groups. Additionally, predictive modeling and pathway analysis was performed. So from the so in discovery phase we had 84 cases, 54 as infected and 30 in non-infected group. And after the generation of LCMS data, a robust pipeline including inferential stats, and further to validate those the selection, to refine the selection, we performed clustering analysis, discriminant analysis, and machine learning algorithms. Once we had a candidate biomarker panel, we validated it in two separate cohorts and a model was developed and the pathway analysis was performed through overrepresentation approach through Go and KEGG database. So we identified a total of 516 proteins, and 65 were differentially expressed between two groups. Here the top proteins which were altered are represented red as the upregulated proteins and the blue ones were the downregulated. And further clustering analysis represented that the dendrograms of infected and non-infected patients, they formed close clusters with close relationships. Further to validate and select our biomarkers, the analysis is just not confined to volcanoplot mediated biomarkers. To validate it, we further performed discriminant analysis, which was SPLSDA, and it clearly shows the separation between the two groups here, and the protein loadings on component 1 were used to select the biomarkers. Further to validate whether these were the true, whether the top proteins were truly contributing to differentiate between infections and known infections, we generated a machine learning algorithm, gradient boost, and here also important proteins explaining this algorithms were used to refine it. So basically we had the three major approaches to select our biomarkers, and the common proteins from all these approaches were selected, and then further the list of candidate biomarkers was refined based on the biological plausibility. 8 biomarkers were selected for further validation, and in validation cohort 1, where the sample size was 147, we could validate 4 important proteins, and further in validation cohort 2, we further refined this list to top 3 proteins, which were galectin-3 binding protein, which was increased, whereas PLTP and GPX were decreased in the infections. Since individual proteins were not optimal, we developed the panel of proteins for further testing and prediction of infections. We initially made two models with protein signatures only, but further we went on to integrated approach between proteins and the key clinical variables, and several models were developed based on various permutations and combinations, and the best model was chosen based upon the performance measures and the minimum AIC and BIC. So the final model that we selected, we called it as Pacify model, which included parameters as galectin-3 binding protein, our identified and validated protein, in addition to procalcitonin, ClifCOF and lactate. And the performance of this model was compared with the existing standards like procalcitonin, WBC, NLR for the diagnosis of infections. And from DeLong's test, we could demonstrate that the performance of this model was better. And in validation cohort 2, again, our model had a decent performance. We further evaluated the performance of our model in various subgroups. Importantly, the patients with and without sterile inflammation at baseline, so that we could just demonstrate that even the presence or absence of systemic inflammatory response, the model could identify true infections. Further, we looked at the calibration analysis, and the calibration plots indicated close alignment between observed and predicted probability, reiterated by the lower Bryce scores, and the regression slopes further ensured that there was a good calibration of the model. We also did a decision curve analysis to look at the potential clinical utility of our score, and this could accurately, and we demonstrated that using this score could accurately identify 60% of more cases with true infections rather than treating no patients. And we also observed a reduction of over 13%. That the model could reduce the unnecessary antibiotic use by this, so it could guide the treatment decisions in patients with acute decompensation. Finally, we looked at the significant or the key pathways that were altered. So this basic network analysis here shows the complex pathophysiology. There were multiple pathways altered, and this shows the complex interactions between them, and further this shows the importance of these pathways based upon the log fold change. So just to summarize the pathways, this figure shows. So majorly there was compromised inflammatory response where the complement activation, proteins related to complement activation were compromised, and the impaired neutrophilic activation, netosis, and proteins related to phagocytosis were reduced. Dysregulated carbohydrate metabolism was one of the key finding, and intense proteolysis and increased cell death were also observed in patients with infections. So just to conclude that the study identified, the major aim of the study was to identify novel protein signatures which could differentiate between patients with and without infections and the pathways of the pathway perturbations in infections. Pacify model is proposed for the precise prediction of infections, and impaired complement coagulation, phagocytosis, carbohydrate metabolism were some of the major pathways that underpin the pathophysiology of infections in AD, and these could be looked further into for the better understanding of the pathophysiology. So I would like to thank organizers at INAZL for providing me with the opportunity, and my team and Department of Hepatology for this support. Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
You have identified models which can differentiate people who are infected and people who are not infected, and you have compared it with the gold standard clinical assessment as we do now without the proteomics.
Yes.
Isn't it? And you found it 60% accurate.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? So why not do the way we are already doing it?
So, sir, basically the culture positivity is too low. in our setting it is too low. So the aim of the study was to identify the biomarker, the protein biomarker, and then we looked into, then we went on to predictive modeling, and this is just one model proposed which could be further validated and could be used.
But your model is only 60% accurate as compared to the gold standard, which is clinical assessment.
No, sir. The diagnosis of infection basically from culture positivity ranges between 50 to 70% only, whereas the AUC of the model as of direct was 0.957, that is close to 96%. This decision curve analysis we just performed to assess the clinical utility, where it identified 60% of more cases which it could identify truly.
What is the diagnostic yield in all the three groups? So we have three groups, one with infection, one with suspected,
Yes.
one. So between the three groups, does it make any discrimination between these proteins and its diagnostic value?
Yes, sir. From the subgroup analysis I have shown, the non-infected cases were taken as control for both the analysis. We have compared the performance of this model between proven infection compared to non-infection as well as the probable and no infected patients. So.
As a clinician, I am more interested to find out how many more patients should I treat with the appropriate antibiotic. Suppose I am treating only 30%, can I make it to 80 to 90% so that my chance of getting him better, so that is something which we want as a clinician.
60% was the percentage of patient that you would treat more if you use this model.
So, Dr. Garg,
Yes.
Excellent presentation, a lot of work, a lot of which obviously I don't understand.
Yes.
But I have three concerns as a simple clinician. Firstly, these 60% that I treat extra, that I detect extra, are they actually infected? How do I know? Second, how much time will it take for this proteomic analysis and all this validation to come back to me before I can start treating a person? And the third concern is not as a clinician but as somebody looking at data. Those calibration plots were anything but reassuring. The calibration plot was going like this, instead of going straight. Are you happy with it? Thank you.
Okay. So, sir, first I would answer the question regarding the proteomic analysis. So, we have identified one protein out of the proteomic panel that we got, and from that we have validated the one protein that we are proposing, finally one candidate marker that you would have to perform to identify infections, and we have validated it in two separate cohort, maybe after after a multicentric validation or something. So this protein could be so there could be a clinical device, maybe like a lateral flow assay or any bedside test, one test that we have to perform additional, and all the other clinical variables could be integrated, and this could be used, but after obviously stringent validation.
My three.
Dr. Garg, so I had some problems with you including both CLIF as well as organ failure in your pacify model. I mean, once you introduce those two variables together, they introduce a lot of multicollinearity, and you will end up making predictions which end up overfitting rather than reaching the true truth. The second part was that your interpretation of the decision curve was not very accurate, because if you look at the threshold probabilities, if you are below 25%, which I would assume is a reasonable threshold probability, you are actually better treating everyone without doing any test. So my impression is that the real clinical utility of your pacify model is not very clear at this point.
So first, to clarify that we have incorporated only CLIF-COF in our final model. We have made multiple models, but finally in the model we just use CLIF-COF. And secondly, the threshold probability of our model was taken at 50%, and maybe yes, after the validation we could just say about a comment on the clinical utility.
So when you say a threshold probability of 50%, say that
no conversation with the yes.
Deepika Kedia from Kolkata. Dr. Garg, your work has been excellent. Obviously, I can't understand all of that, but as a clinician, I'm very concerned that with all this work you've done, I still don't know the name of the bacteria, so I don't know which particular antibiotic I have to give to my patients. You know, we have suspicion of infection. If we are going to start with broad-spectrum antibiotics, they don't
keep your
become
question
better.
short.
So
Time
what do
is-
we, out of this work, I mean, how are we still going to help the patient? And when you're saying not infected, how are you so confident? You're waiting for the culture reports to come back before you are even putting your patients into 3 categories. So that's already delaying. If you're not going to start antibiotics on patients or change them, you're already delaying the
I think
treatment.
that's a comment, not a question. Fine.
No, I'm just asking, like, how are we going to, benefit from this because we don't know the name of the bacteria? Is it not better to use BioFire and all that and at least get the work on the PCRs of the bacterias and...
Yes, your objection has been noted. Yes, Dr. Arora. Last question.
Good work, Dr. Garg. My question is, all these patients were on antibiotics. So what is the relevance then?
Sir, so we the samples of the patients for the generation of data were collected at the baseline before initiation of any antibiotics or antifungals.
And whatever these inflammatory markers
There
you
should
have
not
shown,
be a crosstalk. One question
Okay.
only. Yes, Pradya, last question.
So my first question has already been asked by Dr. Deepika, so I'll go on to my second question. In the last conclusion of your work, you have stated that a lot of pathways are dysregulated in sepsis patients. Now what you have done is a plasma proteomics approach. Plasma proteome has leaky proteins from almost all tissues and organs of the human body. So can you really comment on cellular states and pathophysiology just based on plasma proteome pathways? That's
So basically we just have looked at the proteins which were enriching these pathways. But yes, we could comment on the key pathways like complement coagulation, which are already related to the plasma and the carbohydrate metabolism, because this is more of metabolites and everything is more of circulatory. And the cell death markers are also more of secretory form. So
I would be cautious with that
Please
interpretation.
do not ask any follow-up questions. We have no time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pratibha.